Hi, hello. Good evening. How are you? I'll be speaking to you about progression again. I made a video in my language, in Serbian, uh, a week ago, but a lot has happened because I've had some very unusual sessions lately. So I'm not quite sure will this video be just exact copy of the previous one, and I'll just speak as it comes. What is progression and why progression? Progression, basically, people think that progression is looking ahead in the future. So when you go in hypnotic session, sometimes it may happen that you see some events from this life that will happen, or from some future life that will happen, or maybe that you came here from, or some other things too that I will speak about now. And why did I actually decide to speak about progression? It's my cat here. She's distracting me because you probably can hear her purr, and I don't know why she's so she doesn't want to move. Why progression? I decided to speak about progression. Actually, I got this idea because at certain point there my inbox was full of people who were sending me messages that they look ahead in the future, and they can do fortune telling for me, and because they're all very psychic, and they receive information in different ways, or they look at tarot cards or some other forms of things. So I just decided to make this video because there are also hypnotherapists that guide into the progression and speak about progression, but the people don't really understand very well what the concept of progression is. So everything I'll be speaking here is actually my understanding and my concept of it, and the way I look at it. I don't know why she's doing this. Progression, for me, progression is everything that happens in the spiritual regression, actually in the phase in between, because this is where you go after leaving the earth plane, and this is basically where your soul lives, and your soul lives at that time, at that place. If I can call it place, it's not a place, but it lives there now. And as a soul is multidimensional, and we already spoke that there is no time, linear time as we know it on this level, and that there is no linear time for your subconscious. It only understands the present moment. It is quite possible to receive some information. It is quite possible to receive some. She's being spoiled brat. It is quite. Oh, she's really distracting me now. It is possible to receive information about some future events. But, however, what we have been advised in our training, when this happens, and I've been told it rarely happens, but it happens to me fairly often, I should advise my clients that those things are only a possibility, especially when we're talking about this life, because sometimes you don't know how much those things are your programming, and you create things from your programming, and how much those things are from your mental mind and your own desires. And even when it is an information, it's a possibility. That possibility exists within your multidimensional matrix, shall we call it like that? I don't know if it's actually a matrix, but it exists because soul is multidimensional, and all possibilities and probabilities that you at some point envisioned and wanted to happen already happened in some other dimensions. This is why I keep saying that soul is multidimensional. So basically everything you envisioned in some point exists somewhere already. And even those scenarios that might not be so well for you, because especially during the glimpses of things that can happen at a certain point, you don't see the whole picture, you just receive an information. So what I basically do is I focus you on your desired outcome, or the outcome that you received is the most preferable for you, and then we clear your blockages and your emotions and programs that actually block you from receiving that future that you want. Because basically you envision here, you change yourself, you change your inner world so that you can live the life that you really want, that you will enjoy and that you will love. And this is why you come to see me, because you want to live a happy and fulfilled life. Mostly what people are interested in why do they do past life regression and spiritual regression especially, is because they want to know what's their purpose. And they want to know what's their purpose because they feel blocked at some point, and that's somehow manifesting in their life, and that's manifesting in their life in a certain way. I don't want to speak about all these other ways. I mean, I already spoke in other videos what are the possibilities and why you might come to see me, but there are various, and basically you come because of that, because you want to create yourself anew, and you want to create your life anew. And this is what we do. Everything for me that happens in spiritual regression, even when we go into the past life and you observe some past event, whether from this life that you're living now or from some past life, is actually a part of a progression for me, because you are creating yourself anew in this way. You release, you understand, you transform this energy that doesn't serve you anymore, that you don't need anymore, so that you can go and live and create and receive new energy from your soul and from the spirit, and then you can create what you want for yourself from your life. And this is why you're interested in what's your purpose. So not for me, not only the moment when you receive an information about a future event or a future life is progression. Progression is everything that happens during the session, because you make some progress, you make leaps by receiving this new energy. And with some clients, it's very obvious that they are completely different people, completely different person than the one that walked in my door like a couple of hours earlier when we started working. And for some, it's not so obvious, but it happens gradually. So this is all we are doing. We are doing this so that you can receive your new energy and create yourself anew, because this is why you came to see me, because you need change. You usually come to see me because you need change, and you cannot fulfill your purpose, as clients tell me, until you experience this change in different ways, and even in this, for some people, very abstract way. So what can happen? What do we actually call a progression, besides looking at the past life and besides seeing some glimpses of events of some future events? What happens, and what happened was happening lately in my sessions, is that we sometimes change contracts. We usually change contracts between souls. This is what we do in past life and do in higher planes. And we change especially the negative contracts so that you can continue relationships, or that something stop triggering you and you change your inner responses to some events and some energies. But recently we've been also changing contracts for a future life. How will that play out? We don't know, but we try. We were making new contracts for some future life between two souls. Also, that was one thing. The other thing is that there was a client who was observing a scene from some future life, not in this incarnation, but in a future incarnation that will come after this incarnation, because she had some difficulties during this lifetime, and she wanted to see whether she will have and whether she is allowed not to have furthermore difficulties in her further incarnations if she decides to do so. And she was given a little glimpses of that. Again, we don't know how this will play out, but I saw some pretty amazing things here. So, I mean, it was very authentic when they were talking about that. Furthermore, as soul is multidimensional, you can go to parallel lives. Basically, like I said, there is no linear time on the soul level, and everything is happening at this very moment as we speak. So those even past lives are happening now because your energy lives there now, and you go and observe your past life because there is something you needed to resolve there and take back for yourself from there, or just leave something there that you don't need anymore. And thankfully lately I've had some sessions that people were taking back their talents from, so I didn't only observe traumas or very difficult events. That can happen too, and you're most welcome if you want to come with those issues too, because they're beautiful sessions. Well, some also include traumas, but they're usually beautiful sessions. But you don't always have to check out past life when you theoretical life, when you are receiving your gifts back, or when you're observing and when you want to bring back some energy that is unknown or familiar for you from this lifetime. So you go to a parallel life, and sometimes clients do know that they're observing a scene from a parallel life. Sometimes that's my feeling, and I usually don't say this to a client, and sometimes they do. Sometimes it's a bit confusing, so we have to search a little bit for what is there, but it's usually very fairy tale like, and there are especially when the messages from the point of higher self come, and the way that higher self speaks, and it's very broad, and it's different. You feel it. So sometimes those there is no way of, I mean, I just started a sentence that I didn't finish, but what I wanted to say is that sometimes it's very I mean obvious that it's alive, and sometimes it's something very unusual. Well, I mean, anything is possible, so we don't know. We probably have many lives that we are not aware of as a multidimensional soul. And when you talk about parallel life, it doesn't always have to be like this plane that we're living here now. And it can look completely different, and you can do something completely different and be somebody completely different with the same actors who are completely different people. And sometimes I cannot actually say whether that was a past life or not. Nor can clients say this. So sometimes I just ask when we go to higher planes, what was that we just witnessed? Well, what were we shown? And then sometimes the guides tell us that it was like in this the last client, they told us it's a matrix that they created for a client. So they basically combined a lot of events from different lives. Whether he lived them really or not, we don't know, but by some of the things that he was saying, I could sense that those were events from traumatic events that they kind of transformed into something that he could accept and that he could learn from. We didn't observe anything that was traumatic in those scenes, in that story, but it was really something that he needed to overcome so that he can learn. And this was created for him to learn. And he was told that, and that felt right. And it was created in such a way so that he can make his own quantum leap. And, well, my mind too, because I had to integrate and understand that session. So it was really beautiful session. So it was different. It was something that I'm not accustomed to from what I do, and this is not something that I created because it was just made for this particular client by his higher self. I'm continually speaking higher self because he spoke with his higher self in that moment, and then the soul came later. So yes, higher self and the soul are not the same, and they advance each other, and they're from different dimensions and densities. So we receive those informations. So I was on track, and basically that was what made it beautiful, because it was so different from what I'm accustomed to, and I've learned something new. So I'm happy as a puppy, because it's like I went further, and it was really good. So I was shown that you can work on traumas and on some very serious issues in a very positive manner, in a very different manner, and especially when you want to deal with such things as integrating the part of yourself, your talents that are very huge and very big, and that are not, sort of, this client was sort of tricked into awareness and into health. So that, yeah, I'm so grateful for that. That's progression, and that's real progression for me. And that came right after my video in Serbian about it. So I was just handed this lesson, and I'm so grateful that I feel so supported by the higher realms, and I'm just thankful because it's like they showed me that they are here for me. And I mean, no matter how many times I can whine and complain, this is undeniable. So I'm just really very blessed. I feel so blessed and so very grateful, and I extend blessings to my guides and to my soul, because they made it possible for me to experience this, for my other clients and for this particular client. So yes, thank you. So not to make it any further, yeah, this was a progression, and this is not something that I can tailor for each client in this fashion, because it just happens. It happens in accordance to what the client needs, and I don't take not every client experiences a progression. We go into past life, and then we go into higher realms, and then anything that needs to happen happens. So if there is something that will teach you, from some future experience, or if you want to create some life that you want, you will be given a glimpse or a vibration of that future experience, so that you can create it, because this is why I came here, to learn how to create that. This is what we do all the time, by imagining, by wishing, by setting intentions, and we create our futures all the time, because I mean, there is no past or future in that sense, because the future that we are envisioning at some point will be our present moment. So we create it all the time, but we are not aware. And when we're doing it in this way, when you come to see me, you will become aware, and you're creating it with awareness. And I myself, like for instance, when I was in my training for aggression, and when I did my very first past life regression, I told to my therapist that actually what we're doing, me lying on a couch and she talking to me, is past, and what I was observing and talking about, is future, and that I came from the future to change some events that led to some events there, and I wanted to prevent it because it created some sort of destruction. And I'm not talking about the planet. I also have some clients that also, besides the one that I mentioned, I've had clients a client who came to me, and when we were in a session, he was talking about some things that that he worked on in the past life, and we finished that and went to higher planes. And then I don't know how it happened that we ended up in a certain realm that didn't know where he was, and we were exploring. And then he told, I mean, I don't know how exactly we came to the point where we found out we actually know each other from this realm, from that realm, and that we are doing something there as if we're some kind of team. He told me that I was there before. He just came there, and we're protecting a planet, and we're throwing lightnings from our hands, and I'm some kind of a teacher of theirs. Actually, yeah, I'm not teacher. He didn't say teacher. He told me I was a queen, and they're like helping me there, and I'm teaching them along the way, and we're doing things together, well, as some sort of a team. And I've had other people recently come into my life whom I've discovered that I met in the other realm than here. And why that had a meaning for me is because I've experienced some similar information and got similar pictures, similar stories in my own personal regressions, and I haven't shared that with anybody. And I met that person. He was sent to me by reference, and I met that person for the first time, so we didn't know each other from this life, and it was not a past life. He said it's happening now at this moment, but that's always tricky when you're speaking from that point. What is now? So yeah, there were other people, and we are some kind of a team there. They're my team. And so I kind of understood that they're like my entourage, the way he explained it. And they're warriors, but they're my entourage. So at first I thought, it's something symbolical, some metaphors. And then even though I remember those sessions and that he could not possibly know about, but then later on other things have happened that have to do with all this, and other people came with the similar things and similar issues, and I'm like just kind of connecting the dots, and this is kind of teaching me that yes, parallel realities and parallel dimensions do exist, and we can meet people who are in flesh here, but we met them, like in my case, not always in past life, but in some other dimensions, and whether that's a future life for us or not, because something that's happening now in this moment, in that time there, if the time there exists, can be, I don't know, 5 or 10 years from now. So that's one thing, and that's my personal experience, and I can only speak to you about those things because I've had not too many clients who spoke to me about parallel realities, because they're not aware of them. Most of you are not open for that when you come to see me. And the first time that you actually understand that soul is multidimensional and can spread in different fragments is when you come to a session and when you go to the higher planes, because soul is like a sun, and the sun from up there, it just spreads beams, like the sun that spreads beams, and disperses itself in various directions. So some of those directions doesn't have to be in this incarnation, in this life. Some are, and they come into different people, and this is what we call the soul groups or soulmates, or this is another story. And some are in different dimensions, so you can live more lives as a soul at the same time, but not in this one body. And why this happens? Because you collect experiences, and when you come up there, then you have all those experiences, and you didn't have to spend, time doesn't exist for the soul, but still you're not wasting time, but you're just collecting it faster or more. I don't know. I haven't really understood properly why, but I will understand, and when I do, I will share it with you. So yeah, that's one thing, and I cannot speak yet about the session that was this parallel dimension, because this client just came recently to see me, and I know he will be watching this, and he needs to have his own lessons, so I will share what I can from that. And thank you for your understanding, but I will share that when some time passes. What else that I wanted to tell you? About progression. I forgot now everything that I mentioned in that previous video. When I said that we are doing it all the time, you can also do it for yourself, and you can create a vision board. And I used to do this vision board. I had it was some 15 years ago or something like that, and I was placing different pictures. And why create a vision board? Because you have an idea here or some thoughts that come here, and then from here, from your pineal gland, you project this energy, and this is the vibration that creates. Your vibration creates, and basically you have on your vision board, you have photographs, or it's like not words but photographs. And there is a certain way that I do it, but I don't want to share everything now, maybe at some other point. And I don't actually do it as often now, because it's basically to teach you how to manifest. And for some things you will need more time, and for others less. But basically my example was that I'm sharing this with you because it works. I had pasted there, I wanted to travel, so I pasted there Thailand, which the moment where that I pasted it was what's the word that I'm looking for? I taped it. It seemed impossible for me, and I wasn't thinking about it. But since when you have a vision board, you usually look at it at a certain time, and then you leave it, and then you just sort of project this reality from here. And at some point, it just comes to manifest. You manifest it at some point because you send out those vibrations. And a couple of years later, a lot of years later, actually, it happened. I wasn't even thinking about it, and I wasn't even looking at my vision board anymore. But I was applying for some scholarship for my peace studies, for peace development, to further advanced in that direction. And I was applying for a scholarship in UK. And at that time, I missed the deadline. I got the scholarship, but I missed the deadline for that particular place. And they just transferred me to Thailand. So I ended up in Thailand with no problems whatsoever. And I didn't have a dime in my pocket. I had a scholarship that was waiting for me there, and I had a limo that was waiting for me at the airport. And I went completely broke from here, and I just got everything. I had everything there. And this is how sort of open up Thailand for myself. And this is how you can do it. So this is basically what also happens in a session, but in a more serious manner. And this is something you can do on your own, but you cannot. I need to mention one thing: you cannot drag other people's images into this, because it's something else, and it's not allowed to influence other people. This is only about your inner world. So when you come to see me, we are basically changing your inner reality. And when you change your inner reality, you change your vibration and your energy. And then you start attracting different things and creating different things for yourself, the things that you actually want. So you create a new person that you want to be. And whether we go into a past life and change something there, people ask me, how can you change something that has happened? You don't actually change the event. You change the way you remember it, and you change the way how you feel about it. And it doesn't trigger you anymore. So with this, you change your inner world. And the best way to change it is when you're in hypnosis. We just change this event the way you want it look, the way you wanted it to be, the way that you will feel good with. And when you're feeling good with that new event, you change your inner reality and the way you vibrate about it, the way you feel about it. So I do this with events from your life, this life that you live now, some traumatic events, and we do it in past life. And we also bring stuff. We don't literally bring things, but you can sometimes you can stumble upon those things. Like I found my earring. I bought some earrings that I saw in some dreams, and I like this. I saw it in my dreams, and then I found somebody made it for me. So in that sense, you bring it. Maybe there are some other techniques that you can actually manifest things from other dimensions, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you bringing the vibration of something that you really want. For instance, somebody tells me, oh, they really wanted to write a book, and then we go and check out the reality. What if they actually wrote a book? Who would they be? How do they look like? How their life looks like? And with those feelings that they have at that moment, they bring back. Then I say, okay, bring back with you. Fill your entire cells and your entire body with it and bring it back with you. And this is how we bring it back. And then how it manifests in this life, how will it happen? We actually bring back, okay, bring back the book. So yes, they sometimes see themselves actually bringing back the book or putting it somewhere in their body. And this is a vibration that sort of is supposed to create something out from the inside out. You change from the inside out, and this is progression. This is your advancement, and you're becoming aware, because we do it consciously. We all the time do this, but this is how we do it. Do it consciously, and this is what I call progression. Although I do know that there are people who have spiritual gifts and have a gift of foresight. I'm not undermining that. I have my own spiritual gifts, but I don't have a tendency to do things for other people. Everything of this, I mean, I'm trained to do energetic readings. I read energy, and I can scan and do a reading from remote reading. But I don't want to do that, and I don't want to offer that to people, even in consultations, because I'm taking your power away from you. What I do with this therapy is that you are empowered. You take back your power of creating your life, and you have your life in your hands again. And this is what I want to give you. I don't want to disempower you. I want to empower you. So please don't ask me to do anything for you. I don't want to do that, and no good therapist will do that and tell you anything for you. Even if I see, I mean, I don't, but even if I do, I wouldn't have to tell you. I can give you clues and guidances, but no, this is disempowering you, and I'm not responsible for your life. You're the one who's responsible for your life, and I'm not responsible for your learning process. You're the one who's responsible for your learning process, and this is something that clients need to understand. So with this said, this is a very serious process of self-examination and facing oneself, and this is what empowers you. So I know not everybody's ready for this. I know what I'm saying now here will be too much for most of you and too abstract, but I think it needed to be said, because I don't want to manipulate you, and I don't think that anybody should. But if somebody needs to be manipulated, fine, you can find people that can do that for you easily. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to disempower you. I want to give you your life back to yourself, and I think this is the greatest gift that anybody could give you. I want to empower you, and I want to help you create yourself anew. And with this said, you can also do this technique in a group setting, in a guided hypnosis session, and then we would watch, we would invite your future self to come and talk to you, and from any dimension, maybe from this future or any dimension, or some self that already has the life, the abilities, the treaties, or anything that you really want. You would talk to that part of yourself and that other self that is you, and it would teach you how to create that life, who you want to be, how do you look like, what are your surroundings, who's there with you. And then you will bring it back, and it will teach you how to do that, because this, at that point, that future self will be your guide. And this is how you can be, I mean, your own guide. You usually are your own guide, because our higher selves are our future selves. But that's another story. So, yeah. I think I said everything now. I mentioned some things that I forgot to say in the previous video, but And forgive me if I look a bit eager, but I'm just really happy that I just received some new information that I could share with you, and it was really meaningful for me that to know that some of those things are even, I mean, anything is possible. And I know now that anything is possible, and I've been given clues for that, and I've been given proofs, and I'm really, really so happy about it. And thank you for bearing with me and listening to me, and thank you for your trust that you place in me, and thank you for helping me go further and guiding me what I need to work on myself and do with myself. And because you really are very, each and every one of you that comes to see me is really a great gift myself to me, because I'm directed to work on myself, or sometimes I even work on myself directly when I work with you. So thank you. Thank you for coming to see me, and thank you for your trust, and thank you for your guides, and thank you for everything, and thank you for the higher beings that come with you, because they're just there and they're real, and trust me, they are. Thank you.